Our planet is a wild animal playground. Games play a serious part in the lives of mammals. But why do they play? What's the point if games sap their energy and are often deadly? In the daily struggle for survival, it's odd that play should be such a high priority in the animal kingdom. Yet some animals, like bonobos, our closest relative in the wild, spend hours at a time monkeying around to the point of exhaustion. So scientists are trying to find out whether the benefits of play outweigh the costs. It's difficult to understand what play really is, what good it does, and how it evolved. In short, how exactly do you define play? Most scientists agree on one thing. You don't need a reason to play, especially if you're a bonobo in the rich forests of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Games here, like everywhere, are entirely voluntary. All you need is the desire to join in. But animals, like humans, also need to be relaxed. Sad or stressed animals don't play. It's often obvious when animals are playing. Play fighting, hunting, and play mating are popular games. But it's equally easy to mistake work for play. In marine parks all over the world, animal acrobats look as if they're having a ball as they practice jumps and somersaults for much of the day. But their behavior here is neither spontaneous nor voluntary. They're training hard to entertain others. Handlers put them through their paces. John Kershaw, curator of Marineland in the south of France, is careful to distinguish work from play.
You have to be very careful interpreting what you see here. You can't just say that the animals are constantly playing. These animals also need certain constraints in their lives. They have constraints in the wild, and they need to have problems to solve and to feel good about finding solutions. So what we call games for these animals are in fact serious problems. They have to work around a problem to understand what we want out of them. So the game is no longer a game. We give the animals constraints for their own satisfaction.
Without the stimulus of mental challenges, animals get bored and depressed. Although these dolphins clearly enjoy their job, real play is spontaneous. Some animals are game for anything, and scientists now believe animals play because it's fun. As with humans, age makes a difference. The young tend to play more than adults, and some species of animals play more than others. For decades, Mark Beckhoff, a biologist at the University of Colorado, has studied who the real players are in the animal kingdom.
In a given species, the young animals play more than the adults typically, and that's because The young animals aren't responsible for their own life. They get fed, they get protected, they get shelter. Typically, play occurs in the younger animals when they can be irresponsible. Younger animals can also get away with biting older animals, but once a younger animal becomes a competitor for food or for a mate, the older animals don't like to play because then the younger animal is a threat to their status.
The fun begins soon after birth. Some animals can't wait to get out there. Only a few days or even a few hours old, they're already biting, scratching, and rolling about with abandon. Up until now, scientists believed infant games were essential for learning skills like hunting, fighting, and mating. The young imitate their peers, running, chasing, and wrestling, all vital skills in themselves for survival. Today, the theory that the animal playground acts as a classroom has fallen out of favor. Scientists now think the benefits of play are far more subtle and immediate. To start with, games offer physical exercise, and they may help to cement social roles and communication skills within a group. Scientists even suspect the fun instills psychological and physical well-being. Play could also prepare young animals for taking risks and dealing with unexpected situations. Not a formal apprenticeship so much as a quick prep. So why do some animals play more than others? Dr. Gordon Burkhardt at the University of Tennessee has a theory about which animals are game. He calls it the surplus resource theory.
Well, surplus resource theory is a sort of an idea I came up with to try to explain why some animals play and the context in which animals play. So the idea is this, that play is found in animals when times are good. So we know that animals where they have a lot of nutritious food and resources are abundant in the wild or in captivity play more than animals that do not have sufficient food, or they're spending all their time finding food. If you are spending all your time doing things that you need to for survival, then you're not going to have the time resources to engage in something that seems to be, for the moment, not really serious or valuable.
Olive baboons live throughout Central Africa. They fit right into Dr. Burkhardt's theory. They feed off grass, leaves, and fruit, with the occasional small animal complementing a mostly vegetarian diet. Food is never a problem with the baboons of Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve, so they can afford to spend a lot of time sleeping, grooming, and playing. Youngsters have plenty of energy to use up. They're fed by their mothers for the first 2 years, so they don't have to waste precious playtime foraging. Baby baboons join in the fun a few weeks after birth.
Animals that have a fair amount of parental care. When they're young, which is when you find most play, if you have parents providing you with resources, protecting you from enemies, keeping you warmer in environments that are conducive to your survival, then you, in a way, are sort of, in a sense, sort of bored. In other words, you have time, resources, you're being given the nutrition that you need for development, and so again, that's the context in which you would see play. So we know that animals with prolonged parental care are more playful than animals that have shorter parental care.
Baboons live in troops of up to 200 individuals. Babies stick close to their mothers, and with the ever-present threat of predators, babysitters are never in short supply. After 2 years' close supervision, adults let go. Parents are permissive, so youngsters are free to explore the most extreme adventure playgrounds. With ample food and parental protection, youngsters can play to their heart's content. But they're not the only reasons.
Another factor here is that animals that can do a wide variety of things with their limbs, their faces, their bodies, we see that they play a lot more than animals that are much more limited in the kinds of behaviors that they can perform. So if their normal repertoire involves lots of different activities, typically we find that these animals can rearrange and put those behaviors and those movements in different contexts and practice different things with them, and that seems to be a factor involved in play.
So young baboons take full advantage of their physical gifts to muck about. As adults, they'll need to master a wide range of terrain, crossing rivers and climbing trees in search of food wherever it's to be found. Olive baboons spend their first years testing themselves to the full against their environment. But the young also dice with death. More young animals die playing than practically any other way, even under adult supervision. In spite of being a vital part of their development, games can lead the young astray, both on land and sea. Sea lion pups in the southern Indian Ocean are born on land in relative safety, but they spend most of their lives at sea. The transition from land to sea marks a perilous watershed for the young. They've little time to become competent swimmers. Pups pick up basic water skills in the baby pool. Water sports use up less energy than sport on land, so it's no surprise that marine mammals are among the most playful creatures on the planet. After a few months, sea lions are ready to brave the open waters and play in the waves and currents. All good practice. But a maiden dip close to the shore is still risky. %80 of young sea lions die at this stage in their lives because when they play, they just don't see what's coming. It's hard to imagine why they play so much considering such heavy losses. If pups in the wild toy with death, those in captivity are sitting pretty. These youngsters are already expert swimmers, and today they've got a new toy. Even an empty plastic canister holds great interest. Mammals in the wild spend up to 10% of their lives playing. Recreation soaks up even more time in captivity because there's no need to hunt or worry about predators. That doesn't stop the sea lions of marine land showing off their natural predatory instincts.
For a young animal faced with a strange new object, it will make its approach cautiously, and once it's seen that the object isn't dangerous, it'll start to play with it. In the case of a sea lion, the games will be related to hunting. In other words, it'll try and kill the canister, bring it back, and dominate it.
Born in captivity, this pup lives to play. Yet its body language resembles the wild sea lion trying to dominate its prey. In captivity, the young seal has time and energy to try out different techniques to get a handle on something completely inedible.
The toys become games where the sea lions practice domination. He'll try to keep the canister for himself, and he'll try to keep others at a distance. So this kind of play has two functions in life.
Sea lions do the same in the wild. Other marine mammals share a passion for play, but not in the same way. Dolphins aren't as skillful as sea lions. They can't use their flippers to control objects. A sea snake is hardly worth eating, but it is worth teasing. Killer whales, like dolphins, use their mouths to play. Tugging seaweed provides light entertainment. At Marineland, killer whales are training for the big day. Performing is essential for their general well-being. Animals as intelligent as these would suffer greatly if they had nothing to do. But the trainers are careful to allow them time of their own. The question is, what toy do you give to an animal over 20 feet long? A little white canister seems tiny. Killer whales need a toy more suited to their size. This time, John Kershaw and his team don't interfere.
When we leave the animals alone to play with things, then they do what they want, and they'll use what they've learned. That's play. What they do generally with us is not play.
Left to their own devices, the whales prove far less ambitious, even dull. This would hardly entertain an audience. The fact is that in spite of their acrobatic skills, killer whales are cerebral animals. In a human world, they'd be more likely to play chess than chase. This ocean intellectual is in danger of becoming a laughingstock with this trick. But John Kershaw isn't laughing. He's in awe.
We've seen a killer whale with a barrel on her back. But what you have to understand is that although this behavior looks somewhat static, actually it was the whale that started by denting the barrel so it would sit comfortably on her back. So she changed the shape of the toy to be able to carry it on her back. Now that's intelligence.
This killer whale shows what influence intelligence bears on play. So does brain power separate the players from the spectators? Sharks don't play. No surprise there. Baby sharks are born into an adult world and must immediately fend for themselves like miniature adults. Unlike killer whales, sharks hardly rank as Einsteins of the sea. Nor for that matter, do turtles. So does their low intelligence stop them from playing? Possibly. What's more, they don't need to adapt further to survive. A real killjoy. These two species evolved into their present forms millions of years ago and are perfectly suited to their environment. Predator and prey live and die at either end of a food chain that hasn't changed for millennia. The same is true for a group of Mediterranean turtles at Marineland. They've lived here free from predators for 30 years. And their interest in the new toy is somewhat underwhelming.
Turtles don't play. It's an animal that's lived in its present form for millions of years. So this animal is fairly well evolved. It won't change much more, and it doesn't use much brain either. It survives on instinct and eats what it's always eaten. This animal won't adapt further. It's not very intelligent, and so this kind of animal won't play. Both intelligence and the need to adapt to a changing environment appear to favor playfulness. Most mammals work constantly to find new ways of surviving, and games seem to create solutions. Reptiles are such old hands at survival they don't need to reinvent themselves. Dr. Burkhardt also thinks reptiles are not physically cut out for play in the first place.
So one of the reasons that we do not see play as much in reptiles and other, quote, cold-blooded animals is that they do not have the metabolic muscular capacity to engage in vigorous activity for long periods of time. So something like an iguana or the monitor lizard can really move fast if they have to avoid a predator or to chase down a prey item, but they tire very easily because their metabolic system cannot process oxygen through breathing and circulation the same way that mammals can. So they are not capable of sustained vigorous activity, which is one of the hallmarks of play.
Reptiles conserve their energy for when they most need it. Why move if you don't have to? Wasting energy could prove fatal in a crisis. For years, scientists put all reptiles squarely in the non-player camp. But when Dr. Burgard applied his surplus resource theory, he found an interesting exception. The monitored lizard does play, if you're patient enough to watch.
So lizards that can do more things, like this monitor, it can use its paws, it can use its snout, its tongue. You're probably going to find more play-like behavior, playful behavior in this type of animal than you would in a snake, which has no limbs, can't really do much with its mouth except eat. In the lizards, in a variety of species, we find pretty good evidence for play. But again, not nearly as sustained, not nearly as universal as you find in mammals.
So some reptiles do play, although not as much as mammals. Monitor lizards, in fact, have high metabolic rates compared to other reptiles and are even credited with some intelligence. Another feather in their cap is their tendency to hunt actively rather than wait for prey to come to them. So there's value in a game even for a lazy old lizard, as long as it doesn't run into overtime. Mammals, on the other hand, never let up. Their playful behavior is easy to recognize. But there's more to their games than meets the eye. Macho play shows dominance, and when mammals throw themselves into the fray, they do so with strong predatory instincts. Their games amount to more than just physical movement. Scientists divide animal play into three distinct categories. First comes object play, and it speaks for itself. Locomotor play involves running and jumping, usually alone. And social play calls for a partner. Some animals combine all three types of play, like dogs when they race around fighting for control of a toy. So what rules govern these games? In captivity, animals play with objects made specially for a game. In the wild, anything is fair game, including other living creatures. Predators are naturals when it comes to object play. They stalk, manipulate, and explore anything that's new. When their curiosity is satisfied, they move on. Hoofed animals are locomotor players, running, bucking, and leaping about in short, unpredictable bursts. It's a commonly observed activity in animals threatened by predators. Domestic cows on a ranch in Colorado may not face many threats, but they're born with the same instincts as their cousins in the wild. Scientists think locomotor play may help animals develop specific muscle groups, and in the open African savannas, that can mean the difference between life and death. Barely out of its mother's womb, this calf must be up and running as quickly as possible. Its first tentative steps mark the beginning of a period of play that will last until it's stable and quick on all fours. Without the benefit of play, a wild calf out here stands little chance. If you need a good kickstart in life to survive in Africa, macaques on a reserve in Puerto Rico start life with a punch-up. Their social play involves chasing and wrestling in what looks like a gentle dress rehearsal for future adult conflicts. In other species too, infants brawl, but their games could never be mistaken for what their peers get up to. When young elephant seals play on the Crozet Islands in the southern Indian Ocean, they mimic the behavior of adult males. The elephant seals gather here in huge colonies to breed on land once a year. The pups mouth fight as if competing for females. But the stakes are low compared to the ferocious rivalries of adults. Powered by over 5,000 pounds of muscle, bone and blubber, they battle it out to preside over a harem of up to 50 females. In Uganda, male cob antelopes partake in similar duels. Like elephant seals, the only rule here is winner takes all the local females. The urge to win is driven by the urge to father offspring, so this is no game. Where adults lock horns over the right to pass on their genes, young antelopes mimic their behavior. But even with young animals, there's always a risk of getting hurt if a game turns ugly. So how do players know when the rules have changed? Scientists believe that some animals do communicate their intentions, like these wolves in Abyssinia. Mark Beckhoff has deciphered some of the signals.
If you just watch animals, sometimes if you're not familiar with them or if you don't know who they are, you don't know they're playing. But one way you know they're playing is they don't bite as hard as they could. They don't shove one another as hard as they could. They don't slam their hips into one another as hard as they could. And during the play, they'll do these play signals. So for example, in dogs and wolves and coyotes and foxes, they'll do that bow where they get down on their forelimbs and put their hind end in the air and wag their tail and sometimes bark. They'll do that to say, I want to play. And then they'll intersperse it into the play bout right before they bite, saying, I'm going to bite you, but this is play. Or, I'm sorry I just bit you, let's keep playing.
Chimpanzees have their own protocol which keeps play clean. The game is physical enough, but notice how the chimp is open-mouthed. It's a relaxed expression which may well be the origins of the human smile. This play face shows that however tough the going gets, intentions are honorable. Chimps also vocalize their playfulness with panting noises, equivalent to human laughter. Humans laugh most when they talk. Chimpanzees laugh during physical contact and when they tickle each other. But chimps don't just use their faces to reassure their partners. A handshake does just as well. Great apes extend their arms and use exaggerated gaits, as if to say, it's just a game. During a brawl, they lightly gnaw hands and feet. Chimpanzees are highly social animals and their games reflect this. But social play is not restricted to animals that live in large groups. High above the Arctic Circle, polar bears lead solitary lives. The young stay under the protective wing of their mothers, so they have plenty of time and energy to fool about. The choice of toys may be limited in this playground, but that doesn't discourage the bears. Like many predators, the polar games seem to mimic behavior they will use later on in life. But age doesn't spoil a bear's appetite for fun. Polar bears wander the ice packs alone in search of food. Most of the time they stay out of each other's way, but when they cross, they often make the most of the company. Play is almost entirely social. Adult bears play fight, but surprisingly not for domination. Gordon Burkhardt points to a paradox in the behavior of polar bears.
Bears are really interesting because people have argued in the past that social play should be related to their complex social organization. The problem is that bears, except for the mother or offspring bond, are not very social animals. They do not have a complex social organization. Yet they are some of the most playful animals on the planet. So that's sort of a paradox. You cannot use them. Well, they're practicing all these moves, all this in play fighting and play chasing and object manipulation. They're practicing just for adult social behavior because it doesn't seem to fit.
If polar games have nothing to do with the bear's social life, why do they play? They certainly get a good physical workout and probably enjoy the mental stimulation. Could they also be sizing each other up for future, less friendly encounters? One fact is certain: bears live at the top of their food chain so they can play without worrying about predators. In fact, their own worst enemy is another polar bear. Such powerful animals could inflict terrible injuries on each other, so they're careful to keep the temperature of the game down. Dominant bears deliberately hold back, something scientists call self-handicapping. Mouthing and jaw wrestling are popular games. Those that play too rough are always the last to be chosen as play partners. Although in some play situations, one partner may be more keen to participate than the other. At the opposite end of the Earth, another awesome predator also knows how to play with kid gloves. The leopard seal hunts fish and penguins in Antarctica and has even been known to kill humans. Up to 12 feet long and armed with a mean set of jaws, these animals make short shrift of their prey. No prizes for guessing what happens next. The penguin has no chance of escape. Or does it? The seal plays cat and mouse around the ice floes, careful not to damage its edible toy. To prolong a one-sided game, the seal takes self-handicapping to new heights. From the comfort of their home, cats also excel at predatory play. Their urge to hunt is so strong that any object provokes an attack. Domestic cats keep their predatory instincts throughout their lives, and grown cats are just as likely to play with a toy mouse as a live one. Such simple observations spike the old theory that play helps animals hone specific skills for adult life. Scientists like Dr. Burkhardt discount any link.
People have tried to look at the function of play and do experiments. For instance, do kittens that play with balls of yarn or fake mice, are they better hunters when they actually have to hunt mice on their own? That obvious idea that seems so straightforward doesn't work. And there's a wide range of evidence showing that these very plausible sounding arguments for why animals play do not really hold water.
The The experts are convinced that animal play does serve a purpose, even though it may not be formal training for the future. So why do animals in captivity, as well as in the wild, play with their prey?
This idea that animals may capture a prey item and then release it and capture it again and so on, that's a game. It's something that we can very much empathize with this sort of doing. You want to keep the game going. They may be enjoying the chase, enjoying the game, and they're not really hungry. They're not really doing it because they want to kill or that animal at that moment. But this is a way of keeping the engagement going.
The seal is content to call it a day. Only scientists are left to wonder why. The adult seal is already a skilled hunter. He hardly needs practice. So the game would seem to be a waste of time and energy, not something Mother Nature would recommend. But Mark Beckhoff does.
Up until about 20 years ago, people thought play was a waste of time, energy, but it's not. It's very important because when animals play, they socialize with one another, they get physical exercise like aerobic and anaerobic exercise, and they also train their cognitive skills, they train their locomotor skills. So play's not a waste of time at all. Play's actually very important for development. And what we see in animals who don't get the opportunity to play is that they don't develop socially, cognitively, or physically.
Although the study of animal play has become widely respected, the subject continues to frustrate scientists. The function of play defies easy definition, although it does seem to be good for animals, even vital to their long-term well-being. Play probably encourages mental development and helps animals react to unexpected events. But aren't scientists overlooking a much simpler explanation for animal play?
I think one real cause of play, and it might be a function of play, is to have fun. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that dogs and cats and some birds and wolves and chimpanzees love to play, and I think it's the positive reinforcement they get. They love to play, they enjoy it, so they play more. And evolutionarily, there's no reason to think that something that's fun won't be kept in the behavioral repertoire.
Whatever the reasons for play, it does seem to do animals more good than harm. It shows that people don't hold a monopoly on leisure, and perhaps animals, like us, just do it.